met people in the industry and started, recording music, and we would do reel to reel, and they were shopping me for a major deal. And I had a couple of close major deals, but the contracts were not right, or one of the other thing didn't work out the way I did. So I ended up getting signed later on. I ended up attending a church, and I met, believe it or not, some gospel rap artists that I started seeing in background and their music, and their label decided they were going to open up a Christian R&B soul division of that gospel label. And I was the first artist that they hired. It was Grape Tree Records, and they created Brownstone Records for me under the Grape Tree Record label. And so in my early 20s, I was signed to their label. And that's when things really, really start, really getting real for me. And my dreams were like, wow, this is happening. So I started doing gospel music, being a gospel recording artist, traveling all over, selling music all over the world. And 2 years later, the label folded.
Okay. But
And
that's amazing though, because
yeah.
but but during that time, how did that feel? Because first of all, I kind of want to go back to you were talking about, when you were quite young, you didn't want anybody to feel
Mhm.
like, you don't want them to feel jealous or anything like that.
Yeah.
Were you the only one in your family who had this gift?
No, I have okay, so my older sister, she was adopted before I was born. My sister that's a little younger than me, we're the only two that share the same mother and dad. And my baby sister, who's 9 years younger than me, we have a different father and the same mother. So the one that's closest in my age, the one that we both share the same mother and dad, she sounds just like me. She can sing just as well as I can. But the thing is that in fact, we share a lot of the same talents. We're both filmmakers. We do a lot of things. We call ourselves twins because we feel like we were like one split atom. We're so much alike, but yet we're different in other ways. But she has a beautiful voice. It's just that she wasn't interested in pursuing music,
Okay.
uh, although she had this beautiful voice, but
Okay.
I was.
All
So
right.
I think that was the only difference. Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back through this journey of yours, because I think that once you'd started, you were singing at church already from a little girl, and then you kind of went along this journey where you're, maybe you're having contracts and deals and so on. What was that like for you as someone who was a young person going through this? I'm sure you were, at school, and then
Mhm.
of course, you also had to cope with the divorce of your parents and so on. So what was that journey like as a young person, going through these different things? Because I'm kind of thinking like you'd have had this like these joyous moments, thinking, oh my God, this is happening. How did you deal with that? How did you feel?
Yeah, well, you know what? The thing is that I think that for me, in a lot of ways, music was like a saving grace for me. And I think I was running to it for normacy in my life. At the time, I didn't know a lot of the things that I know today about the industry, which, gives me the pushback. At the time, it wasn't, a lot of us didn't really understand. But I think for me, it was a way I pushed so hard for a professional or to be signed on a major deal because I wanted to have my life be different. I felt like music was something that made me happy. It was something that was going to take me away from all of the trials and the really deep things that I was going through at that time. So I was pursuing it in that way, that this would be the thing that would make me feel validated. This would be the thing that will give my life meaning or, be better for me. So I think that is what was my driving factor behind it as a younger woman. So that's what made me push, you know.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So would you say that you as a person, from you've mentioned that that was your push, are you someone who is self-motivated, self-disciplined? Just describe a little bit about who you are as a person.
Yes, I've always been one of those type of people that I always I wouldn't call myself a book genius. There's this left brain side of our brain, there's this right, there's a creative side on the right, and more, some people lean more to the left, which is their intellectual. So I was not really interested in books and, higher education. That was not my interest. My interest has always been creatively. So I always felt that I was this creative um, person, and my genius was in the creativity of coming up with ideas, you know.
Mm.
And so I always came up, I can think, even as far as being a child, I was always doing something with my little sister. I'm like, hey, I got it, let's make lip gloss out of out of Vaseline and strawberries. And I made this blue cake, and I don't know how it was just weird, I don't know how I even made it. Or I would come up with all these different things and games to play that were not, the regular games. Like, it wasn't a board game. It was just stuff would come up in my mind, and I would just drag my little sister and say, come on, let's do it, And so I was always, I wasn't bad. I was just so innovative. And I think that was, like you said earlier, God gives us these precursors to what our purpose is. And so I think that it was already in me to come up with so many ideas, and always thinking of what can I do to launch something new? What can I do to, so I never really thought of how can I be, in someone else's situation. It was always how can I create something new and innovative that I can be a part of and help somebody else in that.